Hi everyone, welcome back to the studio. What I'm going to do today is we're going to go through and paint this beautiful trawler. It's up in Alaska, and I want to change some things about it. So before I get into the color photo, which I'll be putting right up there, we're going to kind of make a plan, and I want to show you how I go about making a plan for those of you that want to get into art, maybe even as a career, selling some of your paintings. Okay, all right, so first let's get some of the basics out of the way. This is a board. This is a 1/4 inch thick Baltic birch board that I got, and it is 24 inches wide. It is 22 inches high, so 24 wide, 22 inches high. I then gave it a coat of the base coat, basically the canvas prep medium. Dry. Once it was dry, I sanded it with 180 grit sandpaper, and then I gave it a second coat, and I let that completely dry. Let it completely dry. Give it a couple hours to dry. Okay, and the reason why I use Baltic birch on something like this, because it's really thick. This is a 7-layer ply, and it'll never warp. It's also archival, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But it never warps or anything. It's a little heavier, but it does give you a really nice stable surface. And why I wanted that birch instead of using a canvas, because you could use a canvas, you just have to fill up the weave a little bit, because I want to be able to do some of the lines and riggings and stuff like that that I see here on this ship and make it really come out. And there's a lot of marine artists that will use a finer portrait weave canvas for something like that, so you can get some little broken edges and stuff along the way. So if you are going to use a canvas, either fill up the weave or use a portrait canvas that has a little finer weave. Okay, all right, so here then what I did was I take, and you've seen me use this before. This is the proportional meter. This is a photo that I got off of Wikipedia, actually. And then I decide what kind of size I want to put it on. And I use this proportional scale. You put in the beginning size of it, then it tells you what size of enlargement you want to do. And so I enlarged it and then printed it out in a black and white, larger pages of a black and white. You can take it to your office store where it is enlarged. So then I have my black and white. This allows me to look at the values, tones, lighting that I want, and is my subject going to fit my surface pretty well. And as you can see, I'm going to be adding almost 3 inches to the top and bottom, because I want to play the light a little bit more than when was showed in the photo. So I'm going to change quite a few things in here. I do that a lot. But so I'm going to change some stuff. So I look at it first into the black and white. This is always a good thing. It lets me just see the composition. And I like the light that was coming back through here, the light that is coming right down through here. And this is going to be a real warm, because I'm going to do an evening, sunset. And then in here will be the shadows, which will be real cool. So I think it's all going to work out really nice. So I make that. Now, this that I have out here is the plastic, and I've shown you this before. This is a real thin plastic that I like to make, and then I use a permanent marker onto it, and I'll take off. Especially for you that, beginners, I always recommend that you use plastic. On something like this where I'm going to have a ship that I really want to get the composition a little bit more correct, I like to take it out onto plastic so I can have those reference marks. I don't need to take off everything. Matter of fact, I don't take off everything. But a few images like the main center mast and stuff, I don't need the lines and the rigging. I'll put that in. I'll show you how to do that. But some main shapes and stuff like that, that's really gonna help. And all you have to do is you take a big piece of this. Let me go grab this. I forgot this. This is big transfer paper, and you just set that up underneath and you can transfer it. But to start out with today, I'm not going to transfer a lot of stuff. I am going to work on the warm, cool, light, dark areas of the sky, maybe set in some water, set in the foundation of those colors before I even put the ship on. And I'll go back, and that's one reason why I take it off in plastic. I'll be able to, so I have my ship taken off here. So I'll take this down here, the package, and you can see that's what my ship and stuff is going to look like onto the painting. So I can see its position and everything that I really like. Now what I did here was all I transferred was just the idea of this back heel. I'm going to put in another one right up in here into this area here, and then the line, which I will draw across. I haven't drawn it across, so I start out very simplistic. I don't need that much, but you put on what you need, okay? That's the big thing. And you have this, and we're going to use this throughout the entire painting to make sure we get our references and our lines and our ship and everything correct. So hang on to that for just a little bit, okay? All right, so I have I'm burying everything on my table here. This is the square that I usually use, and so I just put a quick little mark of where that water line is going to be there. This is going to be a back line here of the where that sky is going to meet that mountain kind of thing I'm going to put back there. So we're going to want to have that all the way across. And it's a beautiful surface. It's a matte surface. I don't use gessos or anything like that because they cause my brush to slide too much, okay? So that's when you've heard me say that 100 times. For the palette, this is my standard YouTube palette that I work with. I did add out some medium white to it, and I did add out some sapphire here. I will put a list of all the colors in the video description, so just go right down to the video description. Now, what am I going to do? I take pictures of sunrises, sunsets every day. This is one I took 2 days ago. It's actually a sunrise, but sunrise is very similar to a sunset, so I'll just use the same colors. And so I just took this one out, and I loved it. I loved it. I think the clouds would be a little too much and compete too much with what I want to do in the painting, so I'll do this as a general sky. But I want to get this light to dark. Now, then what I did was I went in with my Photoshop, put up some squares, and pulled out some of the main colors that I'm seeing out of this sunset, from the real light areas to this yellow that comes right along through here, and then how it works up to this real warm color. Here's actually the real warm, kind of orangish color that we have here. And that's one reason why I put out medium white. Medium white, value 7, is really, really close to that. So all I have to do is add just a touch of orange to it, and I will be right there as a nice, good along that horizon line, maybe a little bit of light. So we're real close. So I'm going to start out that way first, okay? And I'm going to block in some of the sky, get some of the warm cools, light darks across the sky, maybe down into the water, because water is a reflection of the sky. And then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to start out. So basically, and you can put yourself some nice reference marks. You can take some of this yellow, and I'll do this sometimes, especially you beginners. This is a good thing to do. Take a little bit of Hansa Yellow and a little bit of white here, because you saw that real yellow from that light is going to come right down bright right in through here. And you could say, okay, here is going to be my light. That's where my lightest color is going to go here. The brightest, that bright, nice color is going to go. And I have the sunset up there as well. Down through the majority, a real good majority of the area here, we're going to have just a little bit of that yellow, medium white, something light orange here, real light. And this kind of color is generally going to go right up into this area. And so I'll just thin this with a little water. This is what I call landmark colors. This is, and it's all going to change, but that's good landmark colors of where I want to go. And then further up, that's when I'll use some of the other parts of the scale. Here we'll go with a little sapphire, which is a nice grayed blue, because the blue will be graying down here. And maybe just a touch of the warmth of to take just a touch of that warmth of that burnt sienna-like color. Let's see where we are here. So yeah, that's pretty good. It's a little bit more violet, just a touch. Don't want to get too much. Let's just push a little bit of that in there. So you can see the dropping of the tone here. So I'll look at that and get, that's the color. That's going to be the color. Now, it's going to dry slightly darker, so I'll just lighten it just a bit. let's just add a touch of water. And then as I come out of this yellow area, this would be your landmark color that would go up into there. So you can see where that sky is going to go. And you can go all the way over to the other side over here, which is really easy. It's going to be your sapphire and some white, and we'll thin that out. And that's should be just a touch lighter than that, and that's what that's going to be. Could have just a tiny bit of the violet in there, and that's a real good one. So, making yourself a scale like this. So over here, I want my sky to hit over, to that. So you're basically, slide this over just a little bit here, you're going to see that sky coming out here right like that, okay? And all I'm going to do to start out with is take my big brush. I might add a little bit of extender from here into it as I work the colors. I'm going to work from light colors to dark colors right across the sky, and just use my big brush here and use small X's as I move some of these colors. And you've seen me paint so many times with this. I do that so that that small X gives a lot of atmosphere. You can slide some horizontally, especially if you're going to do clouds and stuff. But for now, small marks, let the colors interplay with each other, and let it get lighter down here and darker up through there, okay? That's what I'm going to do, and we'll play a clip along the way so you can see it, and we'll start banging this in. Let's get going. Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so you can see, and you can see by the glare, there's a little bit of glare right there. That paint is really thick. That paint is got a lot of extender in it, so I've got lots of working time. But you saw me come back with my painting knife here and just kind of slide it around. And what I'm looking for is just a little bit of atmospherics here. So when I look at it, I just get some of that sky atmospherics, that movement of some of those colors. Now, and we're not done. We can come back and redefine, glaze, do all kinds of that real good art stuff later on if we want to. Now, what I want to do is put in some of the line of these hills. I carried a little bit of that down here into the water, and not completely over here because it's just going to be all cool color, but I'm going to paint the line of the hills here and a bit of the reflection, just a touch of the colors down here into the water. Because of the viewing angle we have here, you won't pick up a complete reflection like of the hill down into here, and you know, if we were slightly higher you would, and the photo shows that as well. But I want to take a lighter kind of gray, so I just took some of my sapphire that I put over here at the end. So here is my colors going across the end. I added a bit of the burnt sienna and a bit of violet to it and lightened it just a touch. I'm going to add a touch of extender here. Now I'm going to want to change these colors. This is my 3/4 inch brush. I'm going to want to change these colors as this little hill is going to go forward here towards that light. So, and I'm just going to model this together here, and that just might be a bit dark. So I'll just take some of the blues here, some of these other colors, and what I do is I'll just model these together like this. In other words, not mix it, we'll model it, and then we'll touch in some light. So basically we know where the light is. It's back here slightly behind the hill, and so I just want to blur these edges and just give the impression of a receding hill there. Let's add just a touch of that light right up here on this side of the hill, so we give the idea of where that light is, and we can kind of fuzz and blur those edges a bit there. Not quite like that, Dave. That's better. Just like that. That's good. Now, as it comes forward, there's another bit of shoreline here. As it comes forward, it'll go just slightly darker. So we'll do that. Let's get a little more blue, burnt sienna. You could even add a little green to it and some violet here. Slightly darker as it's going to hit this next line right here. And we'll just kind of pull a little idea of a hill here, right like that. And the boat's going to cut across right into this area, but we're just going to continue on right there for right now. Just pull that and kind of hit that edge there. And we have to also carry that along to the other side. So, and even though you're probably not going to see any of this when the time we get done with this dock and everything, you know, it's a good thing to do. So I'm going to take that's going to be kind of the water line right there, and I'm just going to take that color across here on both sides here, just and very casually, because that dock is going to be in there. So I'm not even going to make an absolutely perfect line, but I do like it to kind of be square. So that's good right in there. And let's just pull some of this. Now, as you're pulling this across, you got to remember the light. If the light's here, the light's going to be in the reverse right out through here. Some of this, that's all going to cover up. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. So we'll put another little line right there, an idea here. And see, what's coming off of my brush is all this mottled color, so it just looks great, you know, when you have that modeling. Let's just add a touch of that light, even though this is probably all going to be covered up by, well, it will be covered up by the boat. We'll do it anyway because we love to paint here. Okay, and let's go over here to the other side, get some of that blue and some of that light here, and drop this down a little bit lighter there, Dave. Let's go a little lighter, a little bit more yellow maybe here, as we come right into here onto this side here. Drag just a bit of that color up onto the other side. do that always whenever I'm changing one side to the next or something, or I change something about something there, I carry the color over to the other side. Now see, this is all going to be covered up by those the fishing buildings there, the cannery probably, or something right in there. So we'll give a bit of an indication here of some of that back hill and stuff, and a bit more right on that front dark. Even though it won't be completely visible, we'll put a bit of that color in there, a little bit of difference here. There we go. Now let's take this, thin this way out, and we'll just catch a bit of the reflection of it. This is going to have that pier right there covering up everything, so I'm not going to get too worried. But you know, I like to have the idea there. So if there's some area that I don't cover up, get a little more of this violet. If there's some area that I don't really cover up real well, then I know that the water and the land and all that kind of stuff is all behind there. So that's nothing really to worry about there. And then let's go back to our big brush here. We'll grab some of that medium grays right in there and just kind of soften out, fill in. You can even pull down a bit, which starts a reflection even more. And but like I say, this is all going to get covered up with a lot that's going on in the dock and stuff like that. But we do want to come in, let me rinse this brush. We do want to come in and reverse that light. In other words, the light that's going up into the sky is going to come right down. We'll even pull a bit of that right in there. Pull that down. Small verticals and horizontals, little X's here as you move some of that color. And build that light a bit more. And when I get the ship in here, I'll do it even more. When I get the boat all the way in here, I'll really make sure that I'm correct. This is just my first look at it, and you know, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect right now. But that boat's going to come in right in here, and I'm going to have that real warm against that shadow. And I think that'll look really nice. Let's put just a touch of this warmth here and there. You might get a bit of it showing up here. There, like that. Might catch a bit of it. I think you catch a bit of it right up over here. So we'll pull that down here like that. That'll be good. Just some ideas of it. All right, now looks pretty good there. So now that is very wet. So this is going to take a little bit, probably a good at least hour or so for it to dry. And then I'll use that transfer paper and I'll go in and put in the ship, maybe some of the buildings, some of the really good stuff they're going to paint. But that gives you a really good idea. Now, if you wanted to have even a brighter little yellow, let's take a look at this, my photo that's here. You might want to have a, Diarylide, where you can play this while it's drying. Just use regular Diarylide here. Diarylide is a wonderful glow color right along the horizon, and to add to any time that I'm painting a landscape that has a sunrise or a sunset. Diarylide is really good to have in there because it's just it's the yellow orange, and it hits that transitional color really nice. So I'm going to add a bit of that. This you can also do later on too, which I usually do. I usually will pick up that light a little better, a little bit more towards the yellow, the Hansa Yellow and white, in towards that real light spot there into the center. Here, we'll just streak that out into some of that Diarylide there. And then, like we did before, and I don't always use exactly the same colors. This makes it pretty. Let's use a little bit of the medium white and some of that medium white and some of that Hansa there. Maybe even a touch of white into some of that to move that light up through. See, this is, once you have some of those colors in there, then you can come back and work this a bit. We can let a little bit of that Diarylide, just a hint of it, slide up a little higher into the sky here in a few areas, so you get those bands of color, the rays of color going up, you know, so we can just build that up a bit there. So, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that, but we really shouldn't get too wrapped up like I'm just about to do. Get too wrapped up into that sunset or sunrise, whatever you want to look at it as, until we get that boat on, and then we see the light and stuff on the boat, the warms and cools, then we can go back and justify our background again. But that gives us a good starting point. I'm going to let this all dry up. We'll see how long it takes. And you can use a hairdryer on it. It can be, but you want it completely dry before we move on, okay? So you can use a hairdryer, or it's 100 degrees out there today. I might go set the board out there. But, you know, either way, we got to let dry. I'll transfer that pattern back on. We'll come back and we'll start blocking in some of the cools, the front cools of the boat and stuff, all right? All right, see you in a minute. Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so I got that really dry. Actually, I set it outside for a good 2 hours in the sunlight and stuff to get that dry. Now, when you're using a transfer paper and you're painting with extender, especially for those of you beginners, I learned this so many years ago. If the transfer will not happen if there's a bunch of extender still in that board. So even if it feels a little tacky, you could try transfer it. You know, you just put the transfer underneath and you transfer it, or even drawing on top of it. Extender does not allow stuff to be drawn or transferred on top. So you have to make sure it's pretty dry. So that's why I just took it outside. And then as you can see, now I can get a good feeling here for, you know, my painting, the general part of my painting. Now we're going to block, and we're going to get some of the tones in here, and then it's going to be repainted several times. So we're going to start some of our blocking in here, and I'm going to start right up here into the ship, up into that front light, and I have my photo over here to see. I can see the warmer side and the cooler side of the ship here. So that's where I'm going to start. You know, probably need to get out some more white, but I'll start. I'm going to have some grays. I love the grays that come from, when you see me do this many times, that sapphire and the burnt sienna. So if I'm on the warm side, I'll carry more sapphire. If I'm on the cool side here, I will carry more blue, maybe a touch of the red and a touch of that phthalo, and it'll make it a real nice cooler gray and the warmer gray. Of course, we'll lighten this up as well. And here we'll get that. So we'll get a cooler gray and a warmer gray. And of course, then we'll do all different kinds of variations of the color. As you go to put this in, and boy, going up right up against that light of that yellow, this does look cool, but we're going to get some nice warms in here too. We're even going to take some of this nice sunlight color right in here, and you know, we'll pick up, you might have to darken it slightly, or you know, leave a little bit of an edge so that you see it, you know, so that you can get some of your drawing in there. But you know, the thing about this is that you know, we're going to be doing it so many times, so many colors, that you'll get a nice variation. And sometimes some of your edges there, you're going to want those to recede and fade away anyway with the sun. You know, when you look towards the sun, sometimes it's hard to see an edge. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a variety of marks. That's what you really want to do. Use a variety of marks. I'm going to be painting this several times here. Let's get this a little cooler. We'll get some darks, but then we'll turn around and put some lights on it too. So I'm going to use a variety of tones here. Maybe a little more blue and burnt sienna. You'll see me change the tones and the marks several times through here. And this is how I'm going to paint it. Many, many, many times here, and some of it towards the end I'll start to really put in some textures too. But we want this. See, this makes it look older, you know, a little weather worn areas of it and stuff. And you just pull some marks, put some different bits of it in there, and we'll go down to the lower section here, slightly different, just a little bit different, maybe a touch more blue into that here, and let's get a little bit more blue into some of that. We'll pull some of those grays from up there down into this part of the boat at some point in time as well here, and get this color, these color lines. If you're beginners, you know, you can go ahead and put it in like a dark line like this to help you so that you don't lose the ship. Now there is a dark, you know, a darker line there. You can just go ahead and touch it in. I usually start to paint the parts of the boat, and then I'll come into smaller areas. But if you want, you can put this roof there right in and around like that, just so you don't lose the edge of the details on the boat there. And there'll be that's just burnt sienna and a little bit of dark here, a little bit of blue right up and around like that. As you base that in, a little warmer. We're going to do a lot of small details and stuff on this as well. We'll get a little warmer there. And once this dries, see, I'll come back and I'll add some more back and forth like this, you see. And this back and forth and set of marks is really going to give a lot of interest to the ship, to the boat. Well, that's a little too blue. Don't take it out, just paint it out with some more color here. Get that nice variety here as those colors go around, and do them again. Just maybe slide a little bit more light warmth right through, pull down a bit, cross over with some cool colors. And then after I start to set up even more marks, what I'll do is I'll get less and less and less with some of these other marks. Let's go a little lighter, a little warmer. Matter of fact, I'm just going to do a light. I can, you know, I put my marks on here, the drawing on pretty heavy, so I can see. If I just lightly glaze through, I can see some of it. Let's just drop some of that light down in here. And this is what you want to do. You want to paint to start to get some of that interest there. Those different colors, tones here. It's a fun way to paint the ships, and I've been painting them this way for a long time. And it's just a real fun way to get some of those colors and those marks there, just constantly changing the color a bit, putting on a little bit more, and then as you get, you know, more and more paint on there, you start changing your marks, start changing up the colors, but you'll get the idea of a light and a shadow. So as we come down to this side, down in here onto the ship, it's going to be more into the cools, because we're more into the shadows. So we might take this these nice grays here, cool them down a bit more here, and we'll just drop some of this in. Sometimes, you know, I just quickly take a color like that, put that in. We're going to have a bit of a darker mark, and the top gunwale of the boat here, or the top of the side of the boat here, right here, darker little mark. This chisel of the brush, and that goes down. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be basing this in, mostly your grays and stuff down in here onto this side. Okay. Now for the violets and stuff. And so I'll do that several times. And I cannot emphasize that the most. You think cool, you're going to have some light, some edges of warm, and then you think all on that cool side, which is those violets, and you can get into the blues, the violets, the cooler side of the wheel, okay? Now, on to the, how do you go about making the darker colors here? Burnt sienna is going to become very important because it's a way in which we can, matter of fact, let me just clean some of this off right here, okay? And we'll save some of that color. That's just good painting gray color. But you take some of this burnt siennas and blues, okay? And what's nice about the burnt sienna is it's a darker color, but it's very warm, and so I can warm up. You want to have a dark, but you don't want it to be completely cool. So, you know, your darkest color you get here is into your violets. And I like violets and a little bit of green, which warms that. So blues, violets. You also get a very nice gray here with the phthalo and the red. So these will all be really nice grays that you can get right in here like this, down this side. And you'll want to, and again, just like you're painting everything else, you're going to want to get the side of the boat in, but you're going to want to touch into every once in a while. Look at that beautiful burnt sienna. See how that goes in there? And that will help us with our, you know, with some of the coloring in there. So I know it's probably hard to pick up, but man, that just looks, it looks fantastic, okay? So it really does. And so I'll slide between all these colors as I start to develop this side right here. I should probably stay out of that camera for you. As I start to develop this side here, and I'll do taps of colors. So there's the light. Now you can just paint right through and put that light band back on there. Your choice. A little bit lighter gray back up here. There's a side panel of the ship right back up here. So we'll just go ahead and drop some of that in. But paint it back and forth, multiple colors, a little bit of that burnt sienna right up here. Let's pull that down right in there. So those darks are just amazing here. Dragging, and later on I'll be dragging some this way like you see me do on several landscapes. As I get into this real core dark shadow up here, really into the violets, really cool, right back up in here where it's going to go right up against that dock and stuff right in here. Might get that even darker cool violet. You can see that that difference between that darker violet and that color right there. We'll pull some of that down right into some of this shadow, and we'll let some of that just touch into some of this other color. So this is how I'm going to kind of tap it around and paint it. Okay, so I'm going to work the boat in just like that. Okay, and I'll take some clips along the way as we put that in. But that's basically the technique of working back and forth small marks. So this is a number 8. That's working perfect on that. So I can get all those different colors and tones in there, okay? So try that with an 8. I'll take some clips along the way, but those are basically the colors that I'm going to work. I'm going to develop the boat in here, and then I'm going to take some of those shadow colors right down in through here as some of the colors of the boat, slightly darker, right down in there, okay? Let's get at it. Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so you saw I put some of this in, and I even used some of my palette knife to come in and lightly put in. That's what gives you these real rough little things. And so like along this edge here, you just use your knife, come in, cut an edge. Like on your palette, what you do is mix it up real well. You can see all my colors here are really modeled. You don't mix it up real well. Grab some burnt sienna, some blue, put it in, cut it. Put your knife down flat like this. Cut it across so that you pick up a little bit of a bead. But see, it's uneven. See how uneven that is? And then what you do is you set it up pretty much like at a 45-degree angle. And as you pull across a couple of times, you slowly roll the knife down and you'll deposit different amounts of paint. And then if you get a little burble of the paint, what I do is I then pull it down. If it gets too much, I don't clean the knife. I'll just tap into some of the gray colors here. So you pick up this. See what happens? That right there. So you pick up just a bit of that gray and you just lightly deposit that, pulling down right on the side of the ship there, just like this. I'll put too much on here, so I'll take it back out. But see, pull down like that, and that will make it look a little older. So that's just a little too much. So I'll just take a little bit of the blue. We want them to think they take care of their boat a little better than this. So, and I can push it to smooth it out just a bit. Oh, that looks kind of neat right there. But you'll get all kinds of variations there. And remember when you're working with the acrylics, especially when you're putting this lights, slightly bluish colors on that side of the boat, remember they're going to dry a bit darker, so have them just a bit lighter than what you think you're going to do. And then I use my knife into here. I don't know if the camera can pick up all the tones that are in there. It just looks wonderful. So, you know, along that line, let's just show you here. So I'll take some, and this is a smaller knife. I use the smaller knife. My favorite knife is this one because it's very pointed and I can poke it into little corners and stuff. But if I take some of the burnt sienna, some of this blue, some of this yellow, and maybe a little bit of our medium white colors out here, I'll do this. See, I'll just model basically the colors that you'll see like on that dock. And don't mix them up real well. Then just pick it up right on that angle, okay? Just right on that angle. And then I'll set that down. Now I want to pull across the dock here. So I want to pull some this way. And then I want to pull the planks across this way here, like that. And I got a little bead of paint there. And sometimes I leave that because that's just good texture. If not, I just wipe my knife like this and scrape it back off like that. But try to sometimes leave those little beads, and sometimes use your finger. Now you can see that puts a lot of interest there to the dock. Now you can lighten that up again one more time here, kind of, and just come back, and this is why I like this knife. I'll use just the point of it here and pull a few lines across like this here, just to get almost like a plank look to it. And it takes a couple times, but you'll get that. And I'll just model up some more color here like this. And see, I just set that knife, and that's what can make that top edge of this dock there. So you can have just a little subtle color variation. Let's get a little more burnt sienna here. So I put it in sometimes with the brush. And then after I do the brush, I'll come back and do a little bit of the knife, because the knife's going to give you a different look. Here, let's take a bit of these colors here, model them together like this. And see, I can pull that right along like the water line here and pull up slightly here. And sometimes I'll go down into the water line, and then I'll go back and put the water line on. But see, that's what gives you all of this lovely interest here. Now see, if I use my finger or a brush, I will smooth it out. So, you know, you kind of go back and forth to see just how rough you want that to happen there. And so that looks pretty good there. There's a little bit of a light line right along the water. So I'll just come in and maybe push that in, and I'll maybe bring up some water there. But I might, you know, on that side, even though it doesn't show it on that dock, I might take a real toned kind of a bit of the blue color here, which is the cooler side of things. A little bit of that sapphire in there. and pull that up. See, and it gives, I don't know if you can pick that up, it just gives just a little casting of that blue. This is what makes a painting like this so pretty, is when you take the time to get some of these different color variations here. And, you know, so I'll go down towards the water here with some of this, and there I hit some light. So, and see, when I hit some light like that, you know, I used to go, oh man, maybe I made a mistake. No, that's just a nice happy accident. That's okay. They're wonderful. You just take some color and you push it in, and I generally use it. So I'll push some of that color right into there just to add some more interest to that dock. Make it look a little older, a little more color going on in there like that. And that just makes that all look older and nicer, neater, you know, just really color. And then we can take some of our blue, darker blue, maybe a little bit of that violet in there, so you get this real dark violet purple color here. You can add a little bit of the red the red if you want to gray it and stuff, but you can pull right along that edge, slowly rotating that knife, pushing it like that to clean up that water's edge and pull some of that down. Now there's going to be some brownish greenish stuff from the dock and stuff down in there too as a reflection, so we don't want to lose that as we get that. So you see, as I work the knife, it's kind of like I work the colors that I have established in that area, maybe just a little bit different. You can smooth some. Sometimes use your finger to smooth it, but the real neat nature of painting with a knife like this is that it gives this a little bit of different character than what the brush or even softening with my finger does. It gives a different kind of character. So, you know, and if I want to really clean up that edge there, then I can use my, my stick here, rest my hand, and just come in and do that. But I like the rough edge of the dock there as well. And then I can pull down. Remember, if you start any kinds of reflections or something like that, they'll pull down. So we'll take some of these colors that we have here for the dock, put that right in on top of that water right there, okay? And then we'll just pull down here to start that reflecting down into the water. We have a lot to do, but now you start to see those colors reflecting down in there, and that's what you do. But there's little tiny details, and it all depends on how much time you want to put in. Let's put a bit of that red right into this. But little tiny darks that are going to go right along like the edge of the dock right here. And see, that's why I like that knife. See, I by just ever so lightly rolling it, and it takes some practice rolling it like that. I create some different highs and lows, and if you look real close at the photo, you can see little, and whether or not you put them in is up to you, but you can, just come in with like the point. This is why I love this knife. You can come in with like the point and just put little marks for those. Just pick up a little bit of bead there of paint on the edge and put in a little bit of the mark for the tie-up areas and stuff like that on that. And so that's a lot of little bit of detail, a lot of little detail you might want to do. Some of you just might want to just do a little hit and miss like this in there, and that's going to simulate that as well. But you can see just the knife rolling it down and up and down. You get all that kind of interest, and that's what makes the dock, even better here. As we do some of this, we'll just roll that a bit there. See, nice interest here. Let's come right in here, just a bit onto that. So when especially here towards the end, after I get all of my major shapes in, I like to come back and put some of these colors and work some of these textures and stuff, which is going to give a little bit more realism to what it is that we do here. And how much you do, that's up to you. There's a little lighter, and I'll start to do this everywhere through the painting. Even back through here. Sometimes I'll go out of the shape of the boat there, so I went a little bit too far low there, and that's okay, because then I'll just take my brush and clean it up, just the edge of it. And it's much better to get a nice natural coloring and then go back and clean it up than it is to get try to be so precise with it. And that's the thing with some of these edges and stuff, you want them to just get lost and blur away to get that realism to it. Now let's take some blue, some sapphire, a little bit of the light here. We got some different kinds of shadows. So this is a nice shadowy gray. I'm going to add a little extender here, which will cause it to slide a bit. But we'll come in, and this is probably a little dark than what I want to do here. So let's just lighten that back up again here. Matter of fact, this other color might be even closer. Let's lighten that up. So this is the side. Now, as we plan some of these buildings and stuff back here, we're going to do some general color, and then we'll come in and put in some more, lights, darks, and stuff. Modeling. You can see my color. See, it's got modeled color in here. That just makes it wonderful when you come in here to base this down. Now, I want to use a brush that's going to give me a little bit of the pulling interest like this, and you can see a bit of the modeling of the color, the streaking of the color. So I want to pull some verticals and some horizontals as I go to put this in. But you want to we don't want to use too big a brush, so we get some interest in there, but not too small a brush. Too small a brush will make you work way too hard. So use as large a brush as you can to work in this area here. Pull some verticals and some horizontals to kind of break up and model up, streak up that color a bit. Use as clean a lines as you can, but break the edges a little bit so they're not perfect, and that's going to start our buildings like this, okay? And I'm going to vary the colors a bit. Now over here, as you get over to the light side of the sunset or the sunrise, however you're going to look at it, you can head to a little more medium white maybe, which would be a touch warmer, and we'll push some of those tones in here as well, along with some of our blue tones. And if you want to kind of mix up a bunch of this kind of colors and just don't mix them up real well, poke in a little bit of extender and they'll stay wet for you for a while. And that'll give you some time to kind of block in some of these buildings like this, okay? So this is what I'm going to do for the next 30 minutes or so, build in and basically block in. I'll probably block in these boats that are right here that same way. And so that's what you want. See all this modeling of color, and then you're going to do it a few times. We'll of course have more going on in the boat so that it comes forward, but that's the same kind of thing. And then I'm going to go just a touch darker up here onto the roof maybe, and just like on the boats, these are little metal buildings in the scene here, so we might put some rusty stuff down, and I lived in an area, a fishing area, for 30 years, almost 30 years, and always raining, always, and we always had the same. We don't tan, we rust. There, everything always had a little bit of rust on it. So just tap in this slightly, and we'll start to build some of these back edges just like that, okay? Put that in. Use as large a brush as you can. Use a knife. You can take, I like this little small knife too. This works really, really nice. You can take some of that light right with that, like here, and I can just pull down, and see, this is what I get, this kind of look right there with that knife. But you can also come across and soften some of that, add some more little details to it and stuff like that, but you'll get more of this modeling and stuff of color. And I'll usually work that several times. I'm going to cool this just a bit more right down through there. And just pull, see, I'll pull this several times down and get some of that nice streaking down in that building there, okay? Just like that. So you can work your knife, you can work your brush. Work that knife. When you work that knife, you know, rotate it down flat and pull it. Sometimes pull a little bit more on the edge. And then sometimes come back and soften with your brush. So let's go paint some buildings and some of the back areas, maybe the boats right up in the front. All right, here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, so I've got most of those colors in. I still need to do a little bit, and some of that is going to be into the final, bringing it all together. But you saw me with the palette knife just going in and working some of those colors. And remember, they dry down, so you might have to repeat that a few times. Now, I went ahead and got this all dry, and I transferred on just the main mask and stuff, and a few of these others, which I will, put those in, and then I can fill in with a lot of other stuff. And I got a lot of details I got to do. First off, what I'm going to do is, looking through the water there, you'll see some more light and maybe even a little bit more warm light. Oh, one of the other things I did was I put out some open medium. When you're going to be using that palette knife a lot, I do find that open medium, mixing in a little open medium will help keep it wet longer, but it also gives you it also drags it a little bit further on the surface. So that open medium is slick, it keeps it wet, and so it lays off the palette knife sometimes a lot easier than what the paint does. We control paint coming off the palette knife with the consistency. You can do it with extender, you can do it with water, you can do it with just paint like I like to do, but that open medium also works really well. So if you have a hard time getting like a real thin line, sometimes thinning your paint out a little bit more liquid, and just letting it go, just like an old, the old writing pens where you dipped it into ink. Okay, all right. So one of the things that I do use, though, when I do the rigging, and some of you have seen me use this onto the ship, this is a board, and I just took 2 3/4-inch blocks, because sometimes I use a flat or I use a liner, and I even use the edge here with my palette knife going down sometimes to make fine lines. But I like also, this is a number 4 fusion round. It's really, really thin. So I'm going to be using this when I do the rigging here. And it is just exactly the right height to lean this right up against the edge, and then you just pull a line and it pulls it really, really straight. So I'm going to be using that. If I'm doing like I am going to be doing here, some of the wider things, I'll use the chisel of a flat. So I'm going to take some burnt sienna and some blue, some of my favorite real colors here on this boat, model it up so it's not real good. Sometimes a little green, a little bit of red. Those are all pretty colors in there as well. And I'll just model that up here like this. And I'm going to set that, to do that main mast here, I'm going to set that real flat. Look at the brush here. Look at the edge. Let it just go right down onto the, and I'm going to allow the brush to skip just a little bit, because that's going to make it look like it's got highlights and stuff like that. But you can see, you can put that in just really nice. Now you can come back and tap it again. Don't repeat it too many times, because you want to get some of these skips in there, because that's what gives a lot of interest to the scene, rather than just a solid line, here. So let's do this one right back out here. Line it up, set the brush down. I'm using just the corner here of this little flat, and so I just watch it there. We'll allow a little bit of skipping here, especially right in there. There's that one there. And how hard you push down makes a thin line or a thicker line. That's up to you. Here watching the boat here, you could go to a round, whatever you like. I like when I'm doing the real thick ones here, though. I like the look of the flat here. And we have a crossing one here, right in here like this, just so you can see it here. And we'll just allow a little bit of skipping here. There, like that. Sometimes you can pull your finger back to take some of the excess off, or you can come back and hit it with a highlight, which is really nice. We got some little details that I'm going to want to do, and sometimes I'll just take the tip of the brush here and just the chisel, and that'll allow me to do some of the detail work and stuff like that on it. So I'll do that. Now, I'm also got the posts here on the pier, and we'll get some of that in here. You know, that's one of the things now. The pier posts in the reference photo go way up quite high. I mean, quite high up here. And I eliminated that because I felt that it overpowered the scene too much. But this is at, those of you who lived along the coast like I did, you know, this is low tide, and this is where the dock rises all the way back up over into here at high tide. So we have these posts to put in over here. That's just a whole lot of this work. We're just going to take this, and then we're going to go down to start the post, and then we're going to continue it down into the water. So I'm going to do that. But we have these piers, the posts here, the pier posts, and I'll probably do it with a couple of lines here and stop and maybe do a little bit wider one, allow a little bit of fracturing. So a few times here, maybe stop and start so you get some interest into the post there as well. And I'll come over and do this one. But this wet method with this little block works so well here because it allows, you know, you'll pull an absolutely straight line every single time. And, you know, and then you can come back and add some more stuff. The old way of doing it was holding way back on your brush and pulling down. But I do like these little blocks and, you know, onto a board. And so that you separate it up so that then just the height of the ferrule, just the ferrule, whatever size of brush you're going to use, just so the ferrule can run right against the edge of the metal, and you'll make a nice one. So I'm going to go in, add some more in here. We'll add some of the vertical blocks and stuff into here. I might lighten this up just a bit, and then we'll get ready to do the real fun part, which will be our front water, because Alex is going to have a lot of work into that because that's going to be very important. But I'll use and I'll put in some lines and stuff with a liner brush and stuff with that same board, okay? Just like that. It's a nice way to do that. And then we'll see you on the other side after I get some of this done. I'll show a few clips. Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so I got some of that detail in there. You see some of this, and it just makes a wonderful thing. This is one of the reasons why I love all this rigging. One of the reasons why I'm not sure about putting in clouds there. Might wait a little bit while longer. But now I want to come up here and work up towards the front of the scene. What I'm going to do is, and you see me do this on water before, is I'm going to give a coat of extender over the surface right up here. This is all dried now. And you can see how those colors just wake up here when they get that extender. That's what it's going to be like when it gets varnished. You can see, now you can see all the colors working back up inside the boat here and everything. So that'll just be nice. Now this is going to make the colors, it can dry longer, but I'm not really worried about it drying longer. What I really want is to slide over the surface. Now, sometimes with like when you see me do landscapes with water, with rivers and stuff like that, I put a coat of extender over it, and then I come back with a coat right here, real thin real thin of the open medium. Now, this really causes everything to slide. I don't want to have tremendous amount because I don't want this to stay wet, you know, for several days. But that'll give you just lots and lots of working time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some of my shadows. I'm just going to pull down some of this color, and I'm going to let this really get mottled up here. I'm going to add some open medium, some blue, some burnt siennas here. And we're just going to, I mean, we're going to come right in through here and state some colors. Now see how that slides over that surface? And that will allow you to really smooth out a little bit if you want to. We want to get some of this nice, warm, deep colors back in here. That's a little too blue right along there. So we'll take some of that out. And let's go and we'll create some grays here as well, little sapphire, and some of the grays that we used up into the sky. Remember some of those colors that we had up there. Remember, water is sky. So what I'm going to do is first just kind of paint in some of this color. This will give me something to work into as I start to work the other colors. You can see it already starts to look like water, but we want to put a few of those ripples in that we see as well. So, and I want some of this to get a bit of yellow in some of this and some white here, and get those sky colors that are up there, a little burnt sienna, a little red here. Get some of those colors right up in here and work that. Yeah, that's the sky pulling back down. That's where you're. Now we're going to go back and forth with this sky and some of the darks here as well. And then we'll put some other blues in and all this kind of stuff. It'll look like we know what we're doing by the time we're done. So we're going to, if you want the ripples, then you just start moving your brush onto the chisel right in here like this. You know, you see a lot of artists will come in and will, you know, use a small brush and start to analyze ripples. I like to keep the alla prima look to it, the quick look to it. So I try to imagine hitting areas here and doing it quite quickly as opposed to taking too long. In other words, a small brush going in there. So I'll work the chisel like this of a big brush rather than doing small brushes and stuff. I'll work the chisel of a big brush here to grab some of that reflections. And also, one of the other things that works really, really well in here is your knife. Your knife can put some of those reflections down and those ripples and stuff. And you can just pinch wipe your brush like this, okay, and use just the softness of the brush and pull over it just a bit to incorporate some of those ripples there. So the knife works really well. The chisel of your brush works really well. Let's just drop some of this color in. So we'll get some more blues here. We'll push those in, and we'll push these darks in. I want to get more sapphire stuff as I come forward here, right up and through here. Slight angle here as I work this, and we'll work some of those ripples and stuff in here. And that just works so well, sliding right over the surface. So I'll take some of this light like this, see? And just like we see in the reference photo, I won't do huge ones, but I'll put a few little marks, try to vary them, try not to light them up. I'm a left brain, so I'll line it up really easy. So I don't want to do that. So we'll just put some of these in, right like that. But you could take your brush and work those. You'll see the actual reflections in your photo. But and you can copy those as much as you like. I am just going to put in the ideas here, like this, and pull some of that through like that. There we go. And get some of that. And I like to, when I do this, and I like to leave, we'll go a little bit lighter here. I like to leave a little texture in some of this as well, as opposed to, and remember, I'm doing this as an alla prima, a quick impressionistic, look of it. I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time copying the ripples and stuff in the water. But you want to look at whatever is up into your sky, and you want to bring that down. Then we'll bring down some of these other blues, these other darks through here, and let those come through. So basically your water is a reflection. So you're using colors from your sky, using colors from what you see in your painting, because that's what water is a reflection here. And then I'll turn around and do the same thing over onto the other side, but I'll use some lighter grays and work some of those colors in there like that. So I might take some of this dark and work that up and through, some of that burnt sienna here. All this will make just real pretty reflections and stuff going on in the water here. And so this is what I'm going to do, just like that, sliding it back and forth, going back and forth between the brush and this. And remember, you can take your brush and soften through. You can pull down. See, if I pull down like this, even using my left hand, pull down like this and pull across, that sets that reflection further into the sky, into the water, okay? And have some fun with it, okay? And I'll see you here in just a few minutes. Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so I just added some more of that stuff back in there. Then I added a couple of little just impressionistic figures down here. And he's tying off the rope here. And now I'm looking at the whole thing. I'm liking everything about it. I think I could have, looking at my original, photo up there, I could have some soft kind of clouds up there in the just really soft. And since the light is down low, the shadows, you can see, will be up by the top. And that's more of that, more of an orange, a burnt sienna. Let's go over here. Burnt sienna, some yellow, and my palette's gone real good today. And let's just see if I can. And what I did here, I should probably tell you, and I should probably drop this down just a bit here, is I gave a coat of extender over it, and then a light coat of the, just left me just like that, the open medium, and just like I did with the water, this causes it to slide over here, and it's almost like a little bit of a glazing and stuff. So I'm going to put on a little bit too much here, and then just kind of push that around a bit here. And so this will be kind of the shadow of the top of the cloud here, right up in this area. Not too much, just a bit of it, just to get a nice interest back through there. Let's take that soft big brush and pull through that. That'll soften it. But I like some of the highs and lows that we get in it. Some of this highs and lows, so I want to keep that. Now we'll go a little bit more yellow here. So a little bit more Diarylide, maybe even a touch of white with it. So it's the shadow here. And so we'll come right back down through here and put a soft little whisper right around like that. Make sure we're not too much getting into the way of, we'll get a bit more yellow up over here, in the way of our mast and everything. This is up to you. You can leave it softer. Now, let's touch into some Hansa and some Diarylide and some white here. We'll make the lighter bottoms of the clouds here. Just whisper across them. I see these every morning on my walk out here in Nebraska. And so they're really easy for me to visualize. But what's important about this is that, and I can put more of a harsh edge on that, but I don't think I want to, because that'll interfere a bit with the the mast and some of the rigging that I want to do here. So we'll just keep it kind of soft here through there. Yeah, that looks kind of neat. And a little bit more yellow. As you go lower in the sky, the clouds would actually get a little brighter through here. So just little whispers, marks, a little color through there. If you have to put some of the mast back on, then do that. But just some softness here back, and I think that's gonna do it. Now, that's my left brain. I sat there and made them kind of even. So I'll be adjusting that. But you can soften this down by taking some of your soft blue, and my blue there is almost completely gone. I got a little bit of the sapphire left here. So this tube is almost gone too. We'll get just a little bit out of it. And make that lighter, softer gray here. Color. With some of that. And go back down in and soften. Here we'll drag through some of this and just put that misty cloud through there. Make it a little bit less even here. Pull that through. A little bit of interest through the sky there, like that. That's kind of neat. And we could, I do like, and we got to be careful not to get too much here, but I do like those, just little bits of those. And so you can just stutter, it's kind of like stutter your brush across there and get some of that, and then soften all of that back out till you get what you kind of like there in that sky. Just like that. So it is a fun technique. This was a fun painting for us, I think. I'm going to get a little bit more right down through here and choppy that up. But, and that's up to you, whether or not you want to add that. Maybe I want to stutter a little bit in here. That's a little too much, but you got lots of time when you use that combination of the open medium and the extender. You have lots of time to work that, and it'll soften out as it goes down. But hopefully you enjoy that, okay? And I hope you click like on this, please. Click like that you like it, and share the video. And if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, boy, that looks pretty good in there. If you want to see more of these types of paintings, we'll do that. We're starting up our website, paintitsimply.com. Just put in Paint It Simply. You can go over there. We're going to start all of our beginning lessons and everything, so you'll find those over there, okay? I might put just a little bit more light back through there, and then we'll call it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Again, don't forget to head to the video description for all the links, everything I do. And if it's not answering something you need to know, just leave a comment, and I'll get to you, okay? All right, guys. I'm just going to put a little bit more, and those of you in the memberships, I'll put a nice final photo for you to see, okay? All right, I'll see you guys.